Hey, how's it going? It's Kev here, and let's talk about productivity for a minute. I recently had some big breakthroughs around this that I hope will be helpful for you. And it starts with when I discovered what I think must be the biggest myth around being an independent worker. And, it's this idea that the only real mark of success as an entrepreneur is when you wake up every day with no agenda. Look, anyone who tells you that is their everyday reality is completely full of shit. And I've hung around with the best of them. And look, granted, some of them have devised a mighty impressive system for being as responsible for as little as possible, which does allow them to be more free to decide how to spend their time, which is impressive as a business owner. However, here's the caveat. If the person, there's usually one person in charge of their world, right? I call them their factory head. What would it be? The supervisor, right? So if their factory supervisor were to be, Lord forbid, hit by the proverbial bus, then chaos would quickly, instantly ensue. Small fires would erupt that would lead to bigger fires, and soon the whole village is ablaze while our CEO stands there with a garden hose yelling, "How the hell do you turn this thing on?" It's not always what it's cracked up to be. But look, here's the thing. I'm being a little sarcastic and cynical, and the reason I get a little cynical over people who make that claim is because the reality is, until recently, I was working way too much. I'm sure we've all been there. So how do I define too much? That's a good question, because it's really something we all have to define for ourselves. But for me, a good sign that I'm working too much is when I get to feeling as though I'm literally unable to close my laptop. Right? As if some kind of psychological octopus has wrapped its suction cup tentacles around my brain and just won't let go. Just slow humping my mind with its own dark psychopus agenda while I sit helplessly reacting to its commands. Nothing important is getting done. Nothing inspired is being created. No innovative ideas are being nurtured. When the psychopus is locked onto your brain, you're merely a vessel producing to its will. And if you're an entrepreneur, I'm sure you've had that feeling a time or two. And look, we know the realities of it, right? We all nod when we hear the refrain, when you get to the end of the day exhausted, but with nothing to show for it. And we all know that we should be working less in the business and more on the business. To which I say, great advice, Mr. Productivity Guru, but there's no way to simply snap our fingers and make that the new reality. But right now, I want to share my breakthrough. I want to share how I've made the last few weeks of my life completely free of that feeling of overwhelm. And actually some of those productive days that I've had, including over the holidays, in a long, long time. And it's going to sound stupid simple, so just hear me out. 4 things that I've changed that have made the difference. Number 1, first thing in the morning, I schedule every hour of my workday. All right, I just write it down on a page. It's right there in front of me. And then I force myself to stick to the schedule. That is really the hardest part. 3, I pay close attention to which tasks spark the greatest resistance, right? So if I'm really struggling to get started writing something or to produce something or whatever it is, I make note of that. And I kind of ask myself, what is it about this that's giving you this resistance? And then I end my day every day by reviewing and assessing how it all played out. Just kind of look it over. How did today go? And, where did I fight resistance? What did I have to compromise? What did I get done, extra? Did I get some extra credit today? Do I get a cookie? So, if you're a performance junkie and you've read all the books, then I'm sure you recognize some of these simple steps as the basic foundation of everything taught by like super disciplined people like Craig Ballantyne, who's brilliant, or, hyper productive types like Brendan Burchard, who's, by the way, if you've ever seen his high performance planner, I love this thing. It's like, to me, the greatest planner for tracking your day. But here's the thing. Here's what I really discovered. This is the heart of all this. Just like battling any other addiction, reading all the books, listening to all the podcasts, and attending all the trainings about how to be more productive will not help until you reach rock bottom, right? And everybody's rock bottom looks a little different. Sometimes the things you think would be the wake-up call just aren't. And the thing that finally does it seems inconsequential in comparison. And, I wish I had some kind of sexy rock bottom story to share that, feels like a scene out of a Scorsese film. But for me, I just knew that if I didn't figure out how to step away from the day-to-day in the business overwhelm of running a business and create some, it's like some white space in my brain to think bigger and be more productive, then all I had was a demanding job that was becoming a lot less fun. And yes, being an independent freelance entrepreneur should mean having more fun than the average person. It's one of the rules, man. If you right, otherwise, why take on the hassle? Just go work for somebody. And for me, the hardest part of all this, like I said, has been fighting those little moments, those old patterns, those little habits we developed and didn't even realize. Especially at the end of the day, when one of my things is I get addicted to reacting, right? Being in reactive mode. And I just want to clear all those notifications fighting for my attention, right? All the unread emails and the numbered red circles and the blinking blue dots, all those things that were created by Silicon Valley, tech geniuses based on, casino addictive, gambling addictive brain chemicals, all those little things that, are there to remind us that, we're important and wanted and relevant because people are looking for our attention. Man, those alerts, they're like the psychopath's favorite poison, right? He injects a little more into your brain every time he locks on. So the way I fight this is to stick to the schedule no matter what. And the way I do it is by reminding myself that the schedule rules, because sticking to it is the only way the rest of the world will learn to work within it, right? Otherwise, if we're just reacting all day long, of course, we're just reacting to other people's agenda. The idea, the thing I wanted to prove was, if I'm only available for certain things at certain times, then that is exactly how the world will allow me to have it. So I write in the morning, I hold meetings and produce content in the afternoons. Then at 5 o'clock, I close the laptop and I walk out the door. I'm at the gym by 5:30, sweating away the day, and then I'm home by 6:30. It's been amazing. I got to tell you, it's really feels like a new life. And if you're enjoying this podcast, or if you've been reading any of the recent emails I've been sending to my list, which I really appreciate you listening and reading, it's because I've truly enjoyed creating them, right? Talking to you like this and writing emails that feel really good to me when I write them. Those are the things I know that are going to feel good to you when you receive them. And, sharing my experience, sharing these lessons is exactly how I built my business. And then, this crazy thing happens where the business grows and somehow you become too busy to perform the same joyous activity that it's built on. That's the psychopath having its way with you. So my advice, don't wait around for rock bottom. Decide right now what is important. If this is not fun anymore, ask why. Which are the fun parts that don't happen anymore? Why don't they happen? Are the things ruling your time really the most important things? Are all those red circles and blue dots actually making you more important? Is there something great waiting to be nurtured when you finally get time? What if you only had 2 hours a day to get stuff done? What if you had 4 hours a day to develop your best ideas? And if you don't make that time, who might develop them before you? And how much longer will your loved ones wait around for you to show your love? Killing the psychopus and taking back your brain is not complicated, but it's only simple if you're ready. So here's to being ready. Thanks a lot for listening. I'll see you on the next one.